So let's go to the ammo types, guys. Starting with all the bullets, and the first one is the Dum-dum ammo. I don't think we have to read the descriptions for this because we will go into more detail, or should we?
Yeah. Well, it's up to you, but you don't need to.
Yeah, because we basically tell the same thing. So guys, you can just read it, pause it if you want, screenshot it. But we will go through each point anyway and show you videos of each, and it will be very long if you read everything out. So let's just keep it as compact as we can. So Dum-dum ammo, it's it causes bleeding.
Yeah, so what is a Dum-dum bullet? Dum-dum bullet is basically what in the past you would have called maybe a split point, and in more modern times is closer to what like a hollow point round would be. So it's basically an expanding type of bullet that has like the behavior to deform on impact or splinter on impact, and therefore it kind of creates bigger wounds, right? Like it has more stopping power because of it, and in the game that's represented by having this additional bleeding effect on them. It doesn't have, however, an additional effect against AI because I mean AI kind of like if you took a look at some of them, like they don't even have heads anymore, right? Like so they don't care so much about bleeding out. You kill them in different means, and as such, like that weakens actual punch you get from a Dum-dum round is more of a thing for, that AI is just more resilient against it because like it doesn't really matter whether you sever an artery with them or something like that. They won't care too much about this. So this is purposely designed as a anti-player round.
Yeah, so exactly, it has no additional effect against AI because it's against player, and it has no penetration and causes reduced damage. But the bleeding effect stacks on Hunter like every other bleeding effect in the game.
Yeah, so you can kind of like force people into cover with this. Obviously, it might open up opportunities for you to just push through. At distance, it's just going to be an inconvenience because, like, just like being hit at a far distance doesn't cause that much bleeding, right? So you can quickly heal as a way by just like diving behind cover, maybe even in the open. But it's something that obviously up close, or if you get hit multiple times, like can result even in a strong bleed, and then it really puts some pressure on, as you can see in a video in a second. I think one of the biggest drawbacks for this, however, is the lack of wall penetration. It's something that we'll see with a couple of ammunition types moving forward in the list today. I think people if they might not even think so much about wall penetration. It's just part of the game, right? And people use it. But the moment it's gone, the moment you cannot even penetrate a thin wooden wall anymore, like a fence or something like that, it really starts to become very obvious to you that you're missing something. And as a drawback, the lack of wall penetration, I think, is something that you should not underestimate. So. Dum-dum ammunition, while giving it a bleeding effect and while being great for pressuring, are very specialized, and they have this huge drawback of not being able to reach through cover. So you need that clear line of sight, and that makes them also a bit situational.
And we have multiple videos to show you of the Dum-dum ammo, so let's just take a look at the first one.
So you can see like one hit, so the guy has to bandage up a little bit. Hit him one more time. Now he's pressured, and
yes.
so in this particular case, for example, I mean, these are set piece recordings, right? This is not from an actual game, so obviously this is all fake, and we're pretending and trying to give examples. However, what's interesting about this example is that the second hit, for example, left the guy, and I think it was me actually in this case, with just below 5 hit points. And that means I had to remain on the healing. I had to remain on it, so that there was nothing I could do there. If I would have let go of the button to get my weapon out, I would have died from bleeding. So that's why I had to accept the punch with a nutcracker. But the first hit, for example, was just a little bit of bleeding. So I was able to pull back from it. I would not have needed to instantly bandage. And that was a tactical mistake here in this situation. I should have maybe just like eaten that damage a little bit for a moment and accepted I will just bleed for a bit to finish the fight. But I did not, and I misjudged, got the second hit, and then I was really in trouble.
And we have another example as well. Ooh. From the...
Yeah, so this is how it looks in first person, and then that happens.
Nice. People are very disappointed that we are faking the videos, Dennis.
Yeah, here comes Fricadelle with a drop kick.
Frick! But that would be a double up arrow probably. I can tell.
Keep in mind that like so you can see like for example this one hit there did like medium bleeding, like you see like the 2 blood drips there. And that means you still have quite some time in order to stop finish the fight before you have to respond to that, even if you're on the last chunk. You can see how slowly it actually trickles down. But yeah, in this particular case, we wanted to have that cold jump attack. So keep in mind that if you have Bloodless as a trait, for example, that has a very strong impact here, right? Because Bloodless never goes above weak bleeding. And as such, having Bloodless on your Hunter means that you're much more resistant against the pressure from Dum-dum rounds. So might be something to consider for this.
Exactly. So let's move on to our second candidate, which is the FMJ or Full Metal Jacket ammo.
Are they calling you Bleedy Boy? Do I get this right?
Bleedy Boy. Like from now on, I guess, yes. But I hope not Dum-dum though.
No, please. That's reserved for me. That's my name. Actually, quite a little anecdote. Like why Dum-dum? It's because there's a place in India, it's Dum-dum, where the British Army back then had an arsenal, and they did research on these type of ammunitions there. That's why the first iteration of these like split point type of weapons kind of like came to be as a name there.
Okay, so Full Metal Jacket. Greatly increased penetration in comparison to our last one. And
yeah, so this one does the opposite, right?
But it also comes with a slight damage reduction and reduction in the bullet's velocity as well.
Yeah, so like basically you're putting a much heavier, much more sturdy like bullet tip, like projectile tip in the weapon, and as such, obviously that takes more force to propel, but it actually has a much more power as it impacts. And what it means is like the shape of it, as well as the overall design, means you can actually punch through walls that maybe the normal weapon, if you don't have a Full Metal Jacket ammunition on it, cannot pass through. It means, however, that like the whole round just has like a slight reduction there. The bullet velocity is, I think, the biggest drawback here, because it actually means that you lose quite a bit of speed, and even on a revolver that might have like 300 or so meters per second, which is already on the lower end, like that drops to like 200 something or so. So like at distance, you will have to lead targets much more drastically. So there is a price with the Full Metal Jacket ammunition. Let's have a look at the video.
All right, we have multiple, so let's start.
See how shit Hunter is coming.
That is scary though. Oh my. I would be so scared of that, not gonna lie. Wow.
Yeah, so this one here is a very good example, because it's basically dual chain pistols that are shooting at us there, and that's compact, right? A very basic round. And what you can do if you put a Full Metal Jacket in, at least within these short distances here, right? It actually has a lot more punch. So you can technically turn your Corvo conversion into an uppercut, just from a penetration perspective, but obviously not at range. At range, the Full Metal Jacket also doesn't pierce that much, right? Just it retains this pierceability for a very short distance only. But if you're, for example, fighting around a boss arena, like a boss lair of some sort, or here, like the tower, etc., like this is when you can really get the advantage out of this. But at distance, especially with a slower bullet speed, also this becomes more of an issue.
Meanwhile, we're watching at our second video, where it's an annoying sniper timer, and finally you can just kill people through it.
Yeah, so like this is the important part here. Like the Full Metal Jacket rounds, they can pierce, just like the long bullets, at least one layer of metal sheet. But only obviously at a very short distances. Like if you were to fire at this tower from a distance with the pistols, they would just basically ricochet off. There's no chance. But close range, you have a bit more option now to pressure and give people a bit more of a harder time there. So you can see like normally against that good conversion, that metal sheet here would have been just perfect cover, but now it's not.
This is
So
from just the other player's
That's
perspective.
just from the other side. I can see like the sparks from the metal penetration, because this metal sheet is on the outside of the wooden wall, right?
That is really scary. Awesome. So that was the full metal jacket, guys. You're not safe anymore.
There's maybe a point to bring up here. It's something I think we wanted to talk about when we went through the full list, but it might actually make sense because I can see some of the discussions in the chat. Special ammunition. All of these custom ammo types are special ammunition. That means all of them, like each of these types, has an inbuilt basically drawback on its own, and that is it cannot resupply from regular ammunition boxes. Every time you decide to not bring standard ammunition, but to bring instead any of the custom ammunition types, your behavior of reloading will be the same as, for example, if you had the Dolce or Nitro crossbows. It will mean that you will run out of ammunition a lot faster. So while you will have some advantages with these ammunition, obviously also the drawbacks, each of them will require you to be much more careful in terms of how you use it. You will not be able to spam at the tower and that type of stuff like we do in these type of videos here, right? In practice, you will be out of ammunition after that, and then you will have quite a hard time to find ammunition unless you brought an ammo box yourself. So that drawback of not having like a reliable ammunition source will be a very strong limiting factor for everything custom ammo.
Exactly. And with that, we can also move on to our next variant, which is the high velocity ammo. So as a comparison to the other two, this has a higher increased bullet speed. Obviously increased recoil for the price as a negative, and it's more PvP focused as the bullet, it just travels way quicker than normally. And
yeah, like so this basically is just a hot loaded round, but it has like a bit of drawback obviously because it's gonna cost much more of a kick when shooting. This is something I think currently is only existing on the on some of the compact weapons. Like I don't think we have a medium or a even a high velocity one that is just very high velocity. A long ammo one that is high velocity. So this is something that you will see like can boost, for example, like things like a Winfield marksman, right? Like so all of a sudden you have a chance to just like lead targets differently with this. So the boost in speed here means that it basically almost goes up one category. So like if the Winfield has like 400 something meters a second velocity by default with the compact ammunition, with a high velocity round, this goes up to like I think roughly 600 or so around, or 500 something. So it actually gives you a jump into the next category. So it's a similar behavior as you would be already familiar with, like leading like a Mosin Nagant or Lebel rifle, or and also the new Centennial Winfield that we're releasing with this update. So it just gives people a chance to maybe just like move between different weapons of the same leading behavior, and just opens up some options. But obviously also with the right ammunition, like Winfield Sniper can become a bit more of a menace at even mid range than right now, because it's much closer to hitting the target after you fire the shot than with the 400 meters a second rounds.
Awesome. And before we move on to the video, someone asked if the full metal jacket can penetrate hunters or not.
The full metal jacket cannot penetrate hunters, but we talk more about something that can later.
Oh. All right, let's see a video of the high velocity bullets in action.
Yeah, so in this case, we use the carbine, officer carbine. So you can see there, like basically the shooting behavior, like it's not guaranteed, but it's a little bit easier to lead a target. But obviously, with just that limited amount of extra ammunition that this weapon has, you better make those shots count, because it's hard gonna be find like additional ammunition for it.
Right. I think that was, especially in the beginning, you could see that it's pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, like even that is like a distance.
shot,
Probably
yes.
a good shot wouldn't have any issue with a regular compact ammunition to lead the target and hit him. It basically just it adds it as an option. I think it's a powerful option for sure, but specifically again the lack of extra ammunition that you can easily find like means that every shot that you make will be hard to replenish. It can be powerful, but I think from a balancing perspective, that's something we have to see on test server then, if people will use it or if it just it becomes a sideshow.
Awesome. Our next category is the poison ammo, which we may have teased on social media before. And as you may expect, this ammo is poisonous and it can kill all the monsters silently and instantly. Or not all, but most of them, because some are resistant to poison, so obviously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this is what we call more of a PvE round. So this is something which is designed to be more effective against the monsters. Obviously, there's still use for it against other hunters, but I think you can agree that, like, especially for players who like stealth, like this is going to be a major upgrade, because like you can basically, without even doing headshots, like if you just shoot a grunt in the foot, basically the poison will come to effect and he dies and falls over instantly. So this is going to be very, very powerful, and it's again something that many of these custom ammo types that we talk about today have, is like they're actually very powerful against AI in general, but again they're limited. Like if you feel that you want to use a precious poison round of which you have only so many with you, right, like on against a grunt, sure, do it, but I think it comes down to being careful and picking your targets rather than spamming and shooting at everything, because you might run out of ammunition the moment you actually need it. Again, here a big drawback is that because of like it has this little like poison capsule in the front, it kind of like shatters on impact. It means that these things do not penetrate through walls. So just like the Dum-dum rounds, it's a drawback that is built into this, that you have to have line of sight. So against players is a big drawback, because you can't just like poison spam into a compound, into a boss lair, for example.
Do crows die from it?
Not from that, because that is just an individual. You would be able to technically poison one crow and the others would still fly away. So we do not simulate that, because they're just one entity of the whole murder of crows. But so in the end, they would not like be affected by this, because they would still startle. But there is another poison thing we're going to talk about later that actually can do that.
Yeah, just the last point to mention is that the poison affects hunters as other poison damage would. So it just similar.
I mean, the level of poison again comes down to what type of ammunition it is. Like a compact poison poisons less than, for example, if you would have like a long bullet, like the Sparks, for example, can have poison rounds, and that obviously is going to be a much stronger effect. We'll see a couple of examples in the videos.
Yeah, so let's just take it. And we actually have a bunch of videos of this one, so this will be against AI.
Most of these special ammo times have a bit of reduced damage. Like the Dum-dum is most significantly, but poison also obviously has a little bit less base damage to begin with. So you can see like here, like even something like an armored, you can quickly bring down with just a few shots.
That's to get a bit more AI.
So I think like something maybe new players, especially also solo players, might appreciate. Just it gives you a lot more options to quickly dispatch of some of the maybe more harassing AI types.
Oh my god, that's so nice against the emulator.
And it's poison, so you don't pierce the skin. It doesn't penetrate, so that's why it doesn't go up in flames.
That's amazing.
And the good thing is, like, as you can see there with a dual pistols, a dual again silencer. You just may want to pause it for a sec. With a dual silencer, since you only need to hit the legs or any body part, like it's actually much more effective just like in a dual setup, because as long as you hit them anywhere, they still get the damage from it. So this one here is just like an example of PvP. It just shows a little bit like, okay, that even like something simple as a wooden wall can actually be quite a bit of a advantage for you. So like the guy in the inside that doesn't have poison, so he can just easily shoot out, while the one with the poison ammunition is struggling. And it actually shows one more thing. So if you see the next time running, you see like the yellow barrel there, and the other guy is actually trying to shoot the barrel a couple of times. And obviously the barrel doesn't go up because it's a poison round. It just shatters against the outside. It doesn't ignite anything. So poison ammunition cannot blow up barrels. Again, like this is like the most professional firefight ever in Hunt, right? Like this is true to life from the servers. It's like prestige 100 players right there. Obviously, we're trying to make a point by showcasing a scenario. This is obviously not not meant to be like a competition for skill here. Then here the same thing. Like, oh look, the guy wants to basically shoot at the guy, wants to even take a chance at the barrel. Doesn't even manage to get the lamp. Uses another different weapon in the end. So you have to hit people with it. You won't be able to blow up any of the barrels like so. So additional tricks, etc., are going to be tough. Now he actually managed to score one more hit, so he's poisoned. And in this particular case, bam.
Again, a gun slap. Wow.
Yeah, they happened quite a bit during recording. So yeah, it's just again just to prove the point. Like poison ammunition is very specialized, right? Like so you want to hit your targets. You can't really do much in the environment with it. It doesn't penetrate, and also like the barrel's fine. The lantern would have actually blown up if you would have hit it, because that's just glass that shatters, right? But and there's already a flame in it, but the barrel's no chance.
Smack. I love that. And then we have a last video.
Yeah, so this is like with the sparks with a poison round in it. It's just as a regular round here. Now he's swapping out for a poison round, and see the emulator go down in one shot.
Awesome. So that was the poison ammo, guys. And we can move on to the next one. And by the way, guys, you can ask all the questions at the very end of the stream, and we will try to answer everything you have. Dennis, please do me a favor and pronounce the name of this ammo, because I can never do that. So
now I have the pressure on me. But thanks. As far as I'm concerned, this is called Incendiary ammunition.
Thank you. Like in the preparation for the stream, I tried to say it like 5 times, but I failed each time. So I just let Dennis do the honor.
I don't think it's called Incendiary with a journal. It's also not called Incendiary like the milk. So Incendiary, I think, is the way you pronounce this, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, some people are saying you're wrong, but they're probably trolls. So So this ammo burns hunters' health bars and sets them on fire slowly, and it stacks up like all other fire damage in the game. So as you can tell, this is a very fiery ammo.
There we go.
Incendiary, they say. Incendiary. Well, no one agrees on this.
The flame bullet, yeah.
Exactly, and it sets monsters on fire. Sorry guys, my cat came. And again, it has reduced damage and no penetration, just as before with the poison ammo.
Yeah.
Which had no penetration again, but this set things on fire, so...
Yeah, so this is actually interesting. Like, if you remember a very long time ago, some of the veterans might remember that. I think we removed this around the 1.0 changes. The long ammo was able to basically instantly detonate barrels. There was just a trait of long ammo back then, and that allowed obviously people to do ambushes by just using an uppercut to like blow up a barrel where the hunter is passing by. We removed that at one point for balancing reasons. That's also in having in mind that we want to introduce the flame bullets, and as such this feature is now coming back with that, because as you know already systemically, if you ignite something in the game, like you shoot a flare pistol at a barrel or you throw a lantern at it, it blows up instantly. There's no delay before that happens, and the same is happening with the incendiary bullets, where it basically goes up instantly. So you can use it as an ambush round. You can use it just tactically for like a meathead being close to it. You don't have to shoot twice, especially useful for a weapon that cannot shoot twice. So it sets obviously monsters on fire instantly, but it has reduced damage, and again, no penetration. Like that incendiary tip kind of like shatters up on impact because it's hollowed out with the fuel, so it does have like no penetration on it, and allows you to use that. So I think this is It's predominantly a nice thing for PvE, but also has a very strong application, I think, actually for PvP, because it can be just like the poison and the Dum-dum rounds. It can be a pressure round where you can kind of force people behind cover. The ignition against players is so that no single hit should ever ignite a player instantly, right? You need at least a second hit to do that. It means, however, and maybe the anecdote here is the grunt with the torches. So we have refactored the fire damage with the intensity patch we did like some time ago. I think it was beginning last year, and where we introduced like strong burn, the charcoaling, that type of stuff. Now, how the system works on live at the moment is that if you get hit by a grunt with a torch, he will just charcoal you a little bit. However, if within X seconds he will hit you again, second time you will start burning. So that basically means there's like an invisible intensity meter that goes up with every time you get this type of fire damage, and eventually at one point you reach the threshold where it says, okay, now please start burning. With the incendiary bullets, the thing is that the player will always remain below that threshold with a single hit, but if he gets another hit within, I think it's 8 seconds, then obviously he will continue spiking that up and he will start setting himself on fire. So either you have to stay behind cover, or you have to take the risk there, just like with poison where you can't heal, or just like with the Dum-dum rounds where there might be a certain penalty for bleeding on you. So it's a different type of pressuring, but I think there's one other thing which actually is the most impressive about this, and that's the visuals. So let's have a look at the videos.
But a lot of people actually have been asking if you're able to set that hunters on fire with it. Maybe not with one shot, but multiple.
No. So the rule set for setting hunters on fire is area fire damage, right? So you cannot do this with a flare pistol as well, right? So you cannot set hunters on fire. And if a burning person dies, the fire goes out. It only gets back on if he died inside a fire patch, right? So that should be rather safe. There's nothing to worry about when it comes to burning hunters with incendiary ammunition.
Awesome. And as Dennis said, then let's just take a look how it actually looks in game. Obviously night map, so you can see it better.
So here there's like the ambush mechanic. So you just like fire this, and obviously meter goes up directly. Just a very quick small example. I think just see it again, but then we can go to the other. So it's just like this functionality that used to be on long ammo in general is now back with incendiary ammunition for any ammunition type that has incendiary. So this is how it looks when you just fire at AI. So you can set like little candles alight across the map. And one thing that doesn't come across so nicely here in first person is obviously that there is a visible tracer. Every time you fire this, there's actually like a proper tracer being fired out, and that's a major drawback if you want to remain unseen, because obviously that gives away your position.
People are asking if it's a new fire effect or not.
On the grunts, the impact is different. So it has a custom impact, but like when they actually start burning and burning down, that's the regular what we've seen so far in the game.
We have a bunch of videos of this actually, so
again, like if you want to use incendiary ammunition for purpose like igniting grunts, be my guest, but it's a bit of a waste of ammunition probably. As you can see here, like at daytime, the tracer, like it's basically just like two people with incendiary ammunition firing at each other a little bit in a mock battle. So you can see like this is one hit, so there was like 5-7 charcoaling happening there from the hit. It just takes the normal time to recover. In this case, the entire hit was weak. So it didn't even take away the 50 chunk, right? So there's a damage reduction there, but obviously the disadvantage is that if you get hit multiple times. So in this case you got hit again, but enough time has passed, so you did not set yourself on fire. But now you get hit in a much quicker time, and now it's actually starting to get you on fire. So that's the big risk. That's the part where you have to be super careful, because that's obviously when you can get pressured quite a bit, and you have to be careful. The important part is, again, every wall is safe. Even a wooden fence is safe against sheltering you against these rounds. So you just have to use cover also a little bit differently there.
Are you guys like mimicking stormtroopers right now with the laser weapon? And someone was asking if headshots insta-kill with the incendiary.
They do systemically, like so the damage is a bit reduced, so I guess also the effective range for headshots is slightly reduced, but if you hit them in the head at a certain distance, you still be able to kill them just like normally you would.
So let's move on to the next one. The same fight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously people were trying to miss here, right? I mean, the whole point was to show the traces, guys.
Yes. I mean, that's brand new, so it looks really cool as well. Oh.
Like he was trying to uppercut rush me, and a great situation happens. And he chose wrong.
Aw. Dead by a grunt.
Show that one more time, maybe.
Oh, okay, we can go back. Oh,
no, stay here, stay here, stay here. It's too late. So, what the hell was that? So
who can figure it out?
In this particular situation, Incendiary Aftermath was trying to open up on us. There was a barrel right next to them. The barrel was ignited with our Incendiary round and instantly died.
That's the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Laser Aftermath.
So Aftermath with Incendiary rounds, you might be asking now. Well, let's have a closer look, Benz, shall we?
Yeah. Let's see. Oh my god.
And there goes the extra ammunition. Now it's back to the uppercut. Where did he go? Oh, he's reloading behind the fence.
Oh,
and there he
And at least we get to see the death screen as well, how it works with the customer.
It's something you can maybe pause on when it finishes the next time.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, every round is a tracer, so this is not like a modern machine gun where like every fifth round or maybe 2 and 5 is a tracer round. So obviously this is just like massive spraying in your direction. But the thing is, like the moment he's emptied that at you, I mean, try to replenish like a full magazine of an Aftermath with like special ammunition you find in the world. So you're probably never going to see that weapon be fully loaded up until the end of the match. So, but it's very, very impressive. This is more of an example. It's more of a fun thing for the Aftermath because practically it is not really that useful, right? You would probably use it for the regular Mosin guns, maybe on the uppercut as well as maybe like an Obras as a backup. On the Aftermath, it works just because it's for the same family. It has to be out of consistency, but it's more of a fun thing. Like it's very, very impressive, but practically I'm not sure if we will see this a lot.
And that's just here's the death screen where you guys can see obviously the ammo type. It even shows a picture of the ammo and even in the text, as well as the usual stats you usually see. And you can see it was Dennis actually.
Sorry. Yeah, so we basically select the ammunition there, and I think that's important information. So you can make that. If you would open up the damage history, which we didn't do in this recording, you will also then see based on each of the types, what type of ammunition actually hit you. So you can kind of like look back and understand how this fight actually turned out,
Awesome.
and why you died or why you actually did not die.
Exactly. And we actually have more ammo types just for bullets, guys. And we are not even at the shells yet, just saying. And
yeah, we told you we had a few videos recorded.
Yes. And that is the Spitzer ammo.
Yeah, so Swiss invention originally, and then basically was adopted by all major militaries across the world around the turn of the 19th century to the 20th century, where the physicality of the bullet was changed to be a bit more pointy cone, like Spitz as in pointy, that's a German word, and that term has kind of coined around that time. And so if you are looking at a modern round, like today, present day, like I don't know, a Kalashnikov round, G3 round, whatever, Dragunov round, whatever you normally would use these days, even in World War II and World War I, you would have them with a typical very pointy tip. Now the weapons in hands so far, if you would take a closer look at a Mosin Nagant, you would see that they have a rounded tip. They look much more like a pistol round actually, so a long bullet, but like they're not that very typical like pointy attribute. And the Spitzer rounds are introducing exactly that. So this is basically modern ammunition, and that has a couple of pros, but also has actually a couple of drawbacks compared to the ammunition that is in the game by default. So first off, it's only available for our more than long ammo rifles, because like it also has like a higher powder charge in it, and like you cannot just fire this in every weapon. Like some of the weapons would just literally just break after a couple of rounds when you put like a top loaded piece of ammunition in there. And it increases the velocity of the bullet actually quite drastically. So like where a long ammo in the game right now is like 600 or I think like 650 meters a second, depending whether it's a Lebel or a Mosin Nagant, this goes up to close to modern specs for these type of rounds of ammunition. So like I think a modern 7.62 to 5.4 Russian round, as you would see in a Mosin Nagant, but also modern rifles, right? I think has like 870 or so, or even 890 meters a second, and we're going to 840. So like from 600 to 840 is quite a big step up, and makes these rounds very frightening to use because it's like kind of like almost instantly in short range. However, there's a drawback, and that is that first off, there's a higher powder charge in it, like smokeless powder, and that has an effect on the recoil. That's probably not so much of a problem for like a bolt action weapon where there's some time between shots, but it also reduces the damage. And why does it reduce the damage? You might think, like it's actually because these more modern rounds, they have a much more stable flight path. The trajectory is much flatter. They have like just more flight stability, maybe is the better word. And as such, if they pierce the skin, if they hit someone, there's a higher chance for producing a very clean wound rather than tumbling, breaking, or doing all sorts of other weird stuff. And that means that the wounds that you take from them are actually much more survivable compared to maybe some of the older ones, but obviously hitting with them is much more reliable. So that's a trade-off that we're talking about here. I don't want to go too much into like the inner workings of the ballistics and everything. It's just like what we use for gameplay balance also, because ultimately this is still a game and not a simulation, to ensure that they have a place in the arsenal without superseding the basic ammunition. There's a drawback. You want to go for those headshots because the body shots, you might actually take 3 shots to the body rather than 2 shots at a long distance with such a round. There's also a very impressive like supersonic crack as they pass by, because it's a higher speed even. So if you're being fired at by a Spitzer round, you will notice it is a bit more whip cracky, if that's a word, compared to the regular ones as they snap past you.
So let's take a look at it in action, guys.
So you can see like this, just a bit of against AI, like so, like the long side of this boat there, like actually the was it like almost 2 meters or so thickness, with multiple penetrations, like that round can go through. You would even be able to hit multiple grunts in a line. So it's just a quick example of like it's just overall penetration just goes up with this thing. Against players, that means you can technically even shoot at 2 players behind each other. So this is a similar attribute like the nitro bullet can do. Just it punches clean right through. It has several more stages of penetration, so it can hit multiple layers. So there's a good chance this goes like halfway through a compound before the bullet stops, just because it just has so much more punch. Obviously, it still can't go through trees and other stuff like that, right? Like this, the maximum thickness is the same, but it's much more likely to hit targets behind cover. And this is interesting. For example, like if someone is trying to revive block, right, and you have that ammunition, you might actually, if you're lucky, have a chance to wound the guy that's blocking and still kill the guy behind them. That's just a possibility that comes from this. So this is probably going to be something you'll see more closer with the sniper weapons. But yeah, let's see a little bit how this goes. So like the first shots in the video is the regular ammunition, so just like an Obra shooting at me, and then the second 2 rounds are the Spitzer ammunition, and then I think it's 1 more Obra shot at the end. So maybe when it starts over, you just pay attention.
One more time, just so you guys can hear the difference. Awesome.
I also see like a much stronger muzzle flash. So it's more impressive the further you are away from the shooter, because like obviously there's close distance that we had in this quick video there. You actually have still very strong gun sound, right? But at long distances, like that snap is just you'll start moving before you realize. Like this is very intimidating.
And I think with that we got to the last bullet type, new bullet type, which is the explosive ammo. So as a main drawback of this ammo type is that you have available ammo to use in general, but obviously it creates an AoE or area damage. And that AoE damage cannot one-hit kill people, but it's great against if there's a hunter behind a wall or a window or a door or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't want to invent like a nitro bullet that can kill it at every range, right? I mean, the shot bolt at least has a drawback with the ballistics on it, with the arc. It has. So these are more tactical rounds rather than actually rounds that are very much directly against players. So obviously hitting a player with it still is going to hurt plenty. It's very powerful and very impressive, and you don't want to stand close to them. And if you get hit by them, you want to move, because the next round might actually kill you with splash damage, depending on how much damage you took. But you actually, if you bring them into the game, you have a lot less rounds available. Like the extra ammunition is much reduced with those. And we have 3 weapons at the moment that would have them. One is the Springfield rifle, one is the Martini Henry, and then we have one for the nitro. So with the nitro, obviously, like this skill is gonna be very powerful up close, where it actually can kill players, because the normal nitro does as well. But obviously, it's to a shorter range than a normal nitro can. But it carries much further, and allows you to, for example, like snipe like a meathead at a pretty large distance with one hit. It's a tactical option. It's something that allows you to play in interesting new ways, and allows you to just like be creative with this. Keep in mind, for example, the Springfield actually has a medium slot zone of variant. So technically, if you slot that ammunition in there, you might have like explosive ammunition on your backup weapon, which can be actually very handy.
So the nitro is basically rocket launcher with the exploding the whole server. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It has like a little thermonuclear warhead in it now.
Yes.
It's rather tame, actually. I think most people will still prefer the regular nitro round when they choose to play with a nitro. Again, think of these ammunition types to be side grades, right? They just nudge you in a certain direction. They take something away. In this case, like the 40-meter one-hit kill torso insta kill option of the nitro, reduces that to a shorter range, but adds instead this indirect fire option to you, so that maybe if you fire this at the tower, for example, you might ignite a lantern or pressure the sniper out, etc. As you can see in the videos that we want to show you now.
Yeah, let's take a look at the first one then.
So yeah, camper killer ammunition, I think, is something that could be interesting to mention here.
Nice. I don't like that. Well, he just killed himself.
So with this one, obviously, like the explosive ammunition doesn't ignite, right? It doesn't cause like a fire explosion, but there's a lantern inside, and the explosion just like basically fracked that lantern, and as such, like the entire tower was on fire, and like the guy on fire, I think it was me, made the wrong choice. Mistakes were made. Gravity always takes its price. So yeah. In worst case, if you don't hit the guy directly, you might get some secondary benefits, like barrels going up, oil patches igniting, lanterns going up. So you can use it for this type of indirect fire, where if someone is like in a specific sniping position, for example, or just camping somewhere in a bush, you might actually get some results with this by just shooting very close already.
I would love seeing that when I'm playing with 2 friends, just like in the enemy team, someone just jumping, would make my day, probably. Okay. We have yet another video as well.
All right, this is the second video. As you can see here, like this is when it doesn't really work out so well. So that's just to show like this is not super powerful. So the second hit was actually a hit. The first one just like basically exploded on the outer railing. So the guy just went to the backside where the stairs are just to quickly heal up, but there's no line of sight there. As he comes back up, he's being engaged again. Again, like not a big hit there. Like the radius is rather small on these. Like this is not like that you will have like 5-meter blast radius or so. You actually have to be rather close to where you want to hit the guy to have some meaningful result. And keep in mind you have limited ammunition. And in this particular case, like you getting actually return fire. So again, hitting the railing and then eventually finishing him off there with a 1 meter, 2 meter frag radius because he was already low on health from the previous hit. So in general, this whole thing is mostly about harassment rather than killing. It just gives you tactical options, and the rounds also fire like they travel at a slower speed. So again, similar to like the Full Metal Jackets, it's something we didn't put in the slide here, but just read up on it in game with all the descriptions. And you can see like where the muzzle velocity changes, where the damage changes. So you can kind of compare all of these different ammo types in the menu just to get like the full picture and fully understand which ones are the ones you like, which ones are the ones you're afraid of, which ones are the one that you would stay away from, etc.